Okay, so this bit always looks really, really tricky. It's not, I promise. So I pinned one side of the front facing on so you can see, and then I'll show you the other side physically. This is where your bias bindings come into play. It says cut like 19 or 7 whatever inches. Basically it's the length of the collar, but I'll explain it to you in a minute. Right, so I've pinned this one already. Let me show you what is occurring. So this is your front of the coat, this is the other side. So your front facing, matching the raw edges, goes over and it overlaps the collar. So the collar is underneath. And you pin that into place. And this is where your collar is. So pop a pin in there just so it sits over that nicely. Okay, so they're both pinned now. So this is your piece of bias binding. This is a normal piece of bias binding that I've cut in half. Now on the dress, I cut it in half again. I'm going to keep the depth on this one, and then if I need to trim it afterwards, I will. So basically what it's saying is that this bias binding needs to come onto your front facing by about 1 centimetre. But if you look, that's about the length of the collar. So about 1 centimetre, hidden in place. And then this matches along the neck edge all the way along. And then on the other end, where your facing is attached and pinned over your collar, you want it to overlap that facing by 1 centimetre again, which is about the depth the collar is covered. So again, I finish it about there. I try and make sure that everything stays lined up. So pins on this project are your best friend. So that kind of comes to about here. And then you just trim off the excess. So this is the bit I don't really want. Okay, and then what you do is you're going to sew from your hem on your facing all the way up, come right across to the other side and down to the hem. Now on these corners, soften it slightly, just give it a bit of a curve. Don't make it really cornered, do you know what I mean? Give it a bit of softness. And then you're going to trim it and make it all look nice and tidy and turn it around the right way. I'm just going to move this pin up a bit so I keep that corner in place. I think I might add another pin there. Okay, so remember, keep your stitches on the long one that you use for the basting. I'm going to start that bottom hem, 1/4 inch seam allowance again. Got thread all over the place here, isn't it? I'm going to sit up a bit because I'm making my back ache. Right. Thread it on the top of it. Right, so here we go. And my thread unattached from the needle. Well, unthreaded. No, it didn't. Why does that look like it? It looked like it wasn't sewing. Oh, my apologies, sewing machine. Let's get that back on track then. You look like it wasn't there. Okay. So remember it said to soften this corner at the top here. So you don't whack off a great big load of it, but give it. And you could even, if you wanted to, draw a bit of a curve like that. Do you want to put that blue line? If you want to do that, you can do that. Give you something to follow. Just remember to keep that seam allowance, so a quarter inch. So now we're coming up to where it gets a bit thick and heavy. So take your time, you want to get it all nice and neat and tidy. Just going to snip a little bit more off that because I've gone a bit too much. That's better. Again, put a little corner bit if you want to. Just remember that 1-inch seam allowance all the way around. Okay, so that's where we're almost at the end now. So what you're going to do after this is trim off the excess fabric. You're going to be turning it in out to the correct way. So that's all. Obviously when you turn it out and all that. So we're going to trim it a bit, and obviously trim off your corners a bit because the thicker they are, the harder it is to. So on your corners here, you're taking off the corner, so when you turn it out, it kind of gives it a nice, it makes it easier to get that nice soft kind of line. Oh, tickling my leg. Spider season, isn't it? Always makes me paranoid. Right, let's get this corner done nicely. You want to leave about 2mm on there. You don't want to go too close and end up cutting your stitches. Try not to cut anything important. There. So. So then what you should be able to do is turn it all out the right way. So now you've got this piece here, you basically thumb in there. Okay, so my stitches look a bit loose on that corner, so I'm just going to go really tight on my on my stitch length. wonder why it's done that. Looked like that seam was going to pop. Let me have a look now. I'm going to do this side again as well. I think my bobbin tension is I'm going to re-thread my bobbin in a minute. Okay, let's look at it now. That's better. Yeah, I'm going to re-thread my bobbin in a minute. It's a bit loose. Obviously when I threaded that one it didn't come. So on the right side I've got all this going on. Just need to kind of give those seams a bit of a roll. And then on the inside you need to make sure that your biased is underneath that facing. So when you look at it, you're going to stay stitches down in a minute. It's covered over and looking nice and neat and tidy. So what you do with this bit here is you just hand stitch it down. So I will fold it over, press it over, and then using like a whip stitch, which I'll show you in a minute, I will sew along all the way along the length to make that look nice and neat and tidy. I'm just going to roll these seams a minute, and then I'll show you the next bit. But I'm also going to redo my bobbin thread just to make sure that doesn't happen again. But yeah, that's putting the facing on. So we just got to neaten up that line, as I just said. I'll show you that in a tick. I'm just going to redo my bobbin thread. So now you've got a coat for that nice front facing. I overlap it up slightly, and the collar comes down. All looks beautiful. Anyway, I'll show you that bit in a minute. Just going to redo my bobbin thread, make sure it's all nice and tight with the right tension. See you on the other video.